Insolation means incoming solar radiation. If this is your sun, this is your earth, incoming solar radiation. Hello everyone, I am Sanjeev Kumar, Faculty of Agriculture and Geography at PLUTUS IAS. Today I bring very important topic that is associated with remote sensing farming. What does mean by remote sensing farming? Means can we do farming without physical touching of the ground? Can we monitor our crop without going into the field? Can we assess yield, how much amount of yield likely to be produced within particular field even without going physically into the field? Can we assess what kind of disease, pest has impacted the crop? How much is the water deficient in the crop? Yeah, over the soil, how much amount of moisture is available. So all such things can be monitored, can be regulated, can be controlled, can be applied in day-to-day agriculture practices through remote sensing farming. So that seems to be very interesting topic, as well as it include your modern farming approach, applications. Further, this is the need of the hour, means at present we require climate smart agriculture. So climate smart agriculture, one of the main agriculture practices is remote sensing farming. Let's explore this remote sensing farming. So remote sensing farming means without touching, without physical touch. Assess, monitor, regulate, control agriculture activities, agriculture practices. So what kind of technology, what kind of tools, what kind of equipment we likely to use within remote sensing farming? We can use mainly the satellite. One of the essential tool generally for capturing the picture. We can use aeroplanes. We can use, instead of aeroplanes, drones nowadays. We can use certain sensors. These sensors may be mounted on vehicle. Suppose that tractor, combine machine, various kind of vehicles likely to be driven inside the field, we can mount on top or around these equipments, or handheld. We can also carry thermal sensor, we can also carry different kind of sensors in our hand to assess the real ground situation of agriculture. So generally, satellite data is highly helpful in assessing agriculture field position, in assessment of day-to-day functioning over the agriculture crop. Satellite data is highly helpful. These satellites, different kind of satellites, generally fly in the sky, open sky, means maybe some geostationary satellite or non-geostationary satellite, which provided real-time information about different locations. Okay. Now, my question here is why vegetation appears green? Why trees appears green? Have you thought about it? So it is because of the radiation which reflected back. by these trees. So radiation reflected back. Generally, this insolation and outgoing terrestrial radiation play very important role within remote sensing farming. Suppose if there is insolation, insolation means incoming solar radiation. If this is your sun, this is your earth, incoming solar radiation, suppose that it is 100 unit. Insolation is equivalent to 100 unit. Then entire 100 unit does not reach to the earth's surface. Rather, 35 units of it generally reflected back by the atmosphere even before entering to ground surface. Means this 35 unit doesn't touch the earth's surface, so net insolation over the earth's surface is equivalent to 65 unit. 100 minus 35. Now, out of the 65 units, 14 units generally absorbed by atmosphere. And remaining 51 units reach to Earth's surface. Now these 51 units need to be returned back. When sun rays come towards the Earth's surface, they come in form of short waves. When these waves hit the Earth's surface and return back, they return back in form of long waves. So long waves, terrestrial radiation. So out of these 50 units which need to be returned back by the Earth's surface, near about 34 units absorbed by atmosphere and 17 units generally return back to the sky, to open sky, to the space. Then this 34 units, 14 units generally absorbed by the atmosphere. So total 48 units absorbed by the atmosphere. And this heat at end of the time need to be returned reflected back. So heat budget refers to the total insolation subtracted outgoing terrestrial radiation. If there is more insolation, less outgoing terrestrial radiation, especially in those regions or in torrid regions where days length likely to be longer. Okay. Or more vertical sun rays likely to be fall over there. Yeah, in particular hemisphere, especially around the storage zone, etc., there is sufficient penetration of sun rays. Okay. There is less outgoing terrestrial radiation. So overall, there is little bit higher heat. But here we are not going inside the heat budget. We are returning to our own original question, that is why this vegetation appears green, because most of the plant leaves, etc., likely to be reflected only green color light inside electromagnetic visual spectrum. Means if this t-shirt looks like white, means all the color light reflected back, nothing has been absorbed. If this digital board seems to be black, it means all the insolation on the light waves which falling over surface of this digital board likely to be received. Okay, no one light likely to be reflected back. So here the white sunlight when passes through a prism having uniform material having uniform layers, then you know that sunlight consisting of different color light. 7 color light likely to be dispersed from this prism. Why? Because the light having higher wavelength likely to be reflected less. The light which having most shortest wavelength likely to be deflected more. So the violet color light likely to be reflected more, likely to be deflected more, means likely to be bent more, while red color light having longest wavelength likely to be deflected, yeah, likely to be bent less. So in this way, you know, at different angle, different light color likely to be passes through this prism. So we can say in a smaller school classes, you have already know Vibgyor, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So generally, most of the plants return back, yeah, reflected back this green color light. So that's why it appears as the green. Now, this is the basis how remote sensing farming works. Now I am building on the concept or moving towards the concept. This is how we have categorized visible light into different colors. So generally green color means around 510 to near about 565. Okay. So this is nanometer wavelength light. If this amount of light, yeah, this wavelength light, this is wavelength, likely to be reflected back more, and all other wavelength light likely to be accepted, means the color of that substance likely to be what it is reflecting. Okay, so only we can visit the color from 300 nanometer to near about 780 nanometer wavelength light. Before that, you have ultraviolet, yeah, UV rays, means having very shortest frequency, shortest wavelength and highest frequency. Okay, further I am not going into detail. So now you have understood what does mean by short wavelength, yeah, ultraviolet, from where to where, from 0 to 380 ultraviolet, 380 to near about 780, it is your visible, 780 up to 3000, it is again non-visible, it is infrared light. Here you have the infrared. For that purpose, you require night goggle, yeah, infrared goggle. Then, even during night time period, you can watch the object, yeah, substances. So now look at application of remote sensing farming. In the beginning, when I started my discussion that what kind of equipments, tools, technologies utilize. So one of the effective technologies, satellites. Satellites used to capture the data, the information here. Now application of remote sensing. First application is crop classification. Means even without going at the field, going at the site, we can identify how much area is covered by which kind of crop. How it is helpful? It is helpful especially for assessment, for identification, for calculation, for taking major decisions. Suppose that state government or the central government, by just identifying the crop, how much amount of paddy, how much amount of wheat, how much amount of sugarcane, now this year farmers has sown, then they can assess it. Based on this assessment, they can give directions to fertilizer manufacturing plants, how much amount of fertilizers need to be produced. Based on this identification, different other pesticide companies, factories, they can manufacture pesticides, etc. Further, government take adequate decision, yeah, optimum decision at appropriate time with respect to import or export of particular crop. Just like very recently, government put ban over export of rice except basmati rice, high quality of rice. government put ban over export of onion, etc. But when it was the election time period in Maharashtra, then government uplift, yeah, remove all such barrier over the export. Otherwise, what happens? Government another responsibility to to control the inflation or to ensure adequate amount of supply. If supply will be reduced, just like few years back, we noticed that the tomatoes price, the onion price reach maybe 100, 300 rupees, up to 300 rupees per kg. So it means number one, supply was affected. Now, how supply was affected? Supply was affected, number one, by the pest attack, means more disease attack, etc. Odd weather condition, number two. Number three, low sown area, means net sown area of the tomato was not optimum, we are not very high. That's why tomato supply impacted. When tomato supply impacted and there was more demand in the market, then we noticed that the price shoots up within very short time period up to 300 rupees per kg. Now look at this. So this is identification. So based on identification, government or various authorities can take right time decision with respect to particular crop. So how the satellite can identify which kind of crop is sown, because almost all plant have the green color. Yeah, maximum plants have green color. Okay. So certain plants, it is very difficult to monitor, to distinguish if you don't properly visit the field. It is very difficult to distinguish between barley and wheat and sometimes within the rice, etc. from the satellite. So how satellites work on it? So every crop generally reflected different amount of a specific light. Whatever is insolation falling, whatever is insolation means 65%, or especially out of 65, typically 51% of insolation which reaching to the earth's surface likely to be returned back, here reflected back by this crop. So crop, particularly let's suppose a farmer has sown this wheat crop. So wheat crop likely to be reflect back green color around 20%, means this much amount of wavelength 550 nanometer around wavelength, or between 510 to 560 around wavelength likely to be reflected back by 20%. Similarly, it will differ from rice because here the amount of light, green light, likely to be reflected only 15%. Now, near infrared means beyond this 850 etc. or even 830, it is quite invisible. We are less visible, very poor visible. Okay, we have already discussed the visual spectrum. So this is near infrared. It is 35%, need to be reflected back by the rice. 50% means here wheat is reflecting more. The green color light, near infrared, yeah, short wave infrared radiation, which generally short wave infrared radiation from 1400 to 3000 nanometer. So based on this, which color light is reflected back more by this particular crop? So satellites can identify based on previous feeding source, here data, based on computer connection at ground surface, it can assess that this particular kind of crop has been sown in particular area. So this is the basis how this remote sensing farming works. Now look at different other applications. Crop acreage estimation. So in similar way, you can measure the crop acreage, means how much amount of area covered by a specific kind of crop. How many hectare area covered by wheat, covered by maize, covered by rice, sugarcane, potatoes, tomatoes, etc. So generally each pixel is the shortest unit. Here it is unit of image, a smallest unit of image. So image generally measured in form of pixels. Okay. So it represents a specific area. Just like here, this different pixels means each pixels representing a specific area, and it depends on what kind of resolution we have used. Now here, for high resolution, higher will be the resolution, better will be the ground monitoring. When we want to distinguish very minute features of the crop, then we generally use higher resolution, maybe 10 meter. Okay, so here 1 pixel representing 10 cross 10 means 10 cross 10 meter square area of satellite image. This is the satellite image. Okay, this is satellite image. So here 1 pixel, this 1 pixel area is representing 10 by 10 means 100 meter square area over the ground, equivalent to 100 meter square area over the ground. It is representing here. Okay, suppose that the total amount of pixels covered by this crop is 1000 pixel. Means this image, this entire image of made up of 1000 pixels. There are total 1000 pixels. So how much area? So 1000 cross by 10 and 10, it will be 10 hectare. 10 hectare land. So we notice that if the size of image, especially this Sentinel-2 is the satellite which have higher resolution. If area of this image is 1000 pixel, it means over the ground there is 10 hectare land. Means in 10 hectare land, wheat or rice or particular crop has been sown. Similarly, for lower resolution, we use MODIS. So MODIS is used for lower resolution, 250 meter. Means this MODIS likely to be cover very large areas. Even state, country, beyond country, multiple country, entire continent, it can measure. Yeah, entire world, it can measure. Here, each pixel representing 250 multiplied with 250. So it will be 62500. Suppose that if image having 1000 pixel here. So image having 1000 pixels, it means 6250 hectare. So this image is representing over actual ground 6250 hectare. So in that way, particular crop can be identified by the remote sensing even without hiring the labor, without physical survey, and it become very important, especially during disaster calamities, especially ensuring food security in specific areas. Means how much amount of land sown we are covered by a specific kind of crop, or it also indicated to policy framers that what kind of crop are generally less interested by the farmers. So let's promote all such crops like millets, like pulse, like oilseed. Otherwise, we need to import all such crop more. Look, another principle here, yield assessment. Means just by satellite image, just by drone image, how you can measure how much amount, how many quintals of wheat, quintals of rice likely to be produced over the field. Just by image. Yeah, just by mounting certain thermal sensors over the tractors, over the combined machine, yeah, hand sensors. So this assessment, yield assessment, monitor vegetation health. So by monitoring vegetation health, if plants are having good quality, means strength, their color seems to be more greenish, yeah, plant seems to be very healthy, then even during maturity time period of this crop, we can assess how much amount of yield likely to be produced. So we can measure health, we can measure stage, at what stage crop at present is. Use vegetation index. Here we generally use normalized difference vegetation index. So this normalized difference vegetation index generally calculated by near infrared radiation, near infrared, red infrared, okay, red color, red visual light, near infrared. Suppose that this near infrared value is 0.7, red color light near about 0.3 divided by 0.7 plus 0.3, so it equivalent to 0.4. 0.4 here, NDVI value of 0.4 reflecting that crops little bit weak, not very strong. Okay, so based on this, how much amount of near infrared light is reflected back by the crop? How much amount of red color light likely to be reflected back? Based on this, we can calculate the normalized difference vegetation index. Let's go for track growth stage. So, sowing, flowering, maturity stage, etc. How much amount of which color light have been reflected back? We can assess, we can compare it with already feeding data. Means we already provided data, especially to certain computer system, which we called Geographic Information System, GIS. So in which we connect satellite with certain ground-based or certain laboratory-based computer, supercomputer, etc. And they already know that when crop is young, mature, when crop is very strong, then how much amount of particular color light likely to be reflected back? How much infrared, how much red color light, how much green, yellow color light likely to be reflected back? And based on that, we can compare at what stage this particular crop is located. So based on it, we can measure the yield. Let's look for nutritional health. Means farmers generally look how much amount of nutrition, particularly your nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, magnesium, yeah, different such kind of nutrients, whether they are surplus or whether they are deficit. So how we can monitor without going over the field? Even we can monitor better than going to the field. Means just by looking at the plant, farmer may or may not identify that which kind of particular nutrients is deficient within the crop, but by remote sensing we can utilize which specific kind of nutrients is deficient and which kind of fertilizer in which particular area likely to be used. So detection of nutrients deficiency. Nutrient deficiency detected by spectral images, means a specific change in the plant color. When there is deficiency of nitrogen, the plant color likely to be become yellowish. When there is deficiency of potash, then generally yellowing of leaf margins. Leaf margins likely to be yellowish. Means here this leaf seems to be having adequate amount of nitrogen, while this leaf having little bit less amount of nitrogen. Further, this leaf margins are yellowish. It means it also having potash deficiency. When there is dead end of the leaf, we can say that it is phosphorus deficiency. So here generally the plant leaves likely to be reflected back different quantity, different types of radiation. So based on this, we can assess which particular kind of nutrients is deficient, and based on that we can implement or further take action with respect to fertilizers. Now the last one here is about water stress. Means how much amount of moisture is available in your soil, how much stress your crop is feeling. You notice that when there is deficiency of water, then the leaves is started to spiral, means they roll around, they roll inwards. So these leaves roll inwards because of extreme deficiency of water, because these leaves started to shrink their area so that evapotranspiration can be reduced. So how water stress can be measured? Water stress management within the agriculture, it can be measured based on index, the crop water stress index. Here crop water stress index can be measured by TC, means canopy temperature, TW means well watered irrigated crop when there is adequate amount of water within the crop, and TS means surface temperature. So canopy, what does mean by canopy? Canopy means this layer, the forage, a leaf layer. Yeah, you can say roof of the upper roof of the plant slide. So canopy's temperature is what? Suppose the temperature of canopy is 32 degrees Celsius. Suppose well irrigated watered crop temperature is 28 degrees Celsius. Now, surface temperature is 38 degrees Celsius and this well irrigated crop temperature is 28 degrees Celsius. So here we can notice that it is 4 by 10 means 0.4. If crop water stress index is equivalent to 0, then there is no stress of the water, there is no irrigation requirement. So here the crop water stress index is 0.4, it means crop is indicating, yeah, crop generally looking for water. It is under stress. It is under the stress. If it is, higher up to 1 means extreme stress. Extreme water stress. So you require urgent immediately water, or this 1 is generally dry level or dead level. So even your this crop water index is higher than 0.3, it means immediately farmers should arrange irrigation facilities, otherwise yield likely to be impacted soon. So that's all in today's lecture. We will bring another topic next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care.